concluding part of my reflections, I would touch on two things. I mean, if you ask me what I worry about two aspects. One is security fatigue and complacency. Actually, when I talk to my counterparts in other countries, it's a problem that they too have. The problem is this. The level of public awareness, vigilance, and consciousness about public security is cyclical. It reaches a high point and reaches a low point. Why is that? Because if there's a long period of absence of a terrorist attack, it's very difficult to keep the message in the minds of the public. So, I worry, for example, when there was a MICA survey which showed that public vigilance on terrorist threats fell from 58 point something to 53%. Right? But fortunately, it rose up again to 60%. But it rose up because prior to that, there was a Bombay attack and there was a Jakarta bombings. Now, we do not wish catastrophic terrorist attacks in any other country near the region for public to show greater vigilance. The same survey showed that about one-third, I think, did not believe that Singapore is a target. And about half were mentally prepared for such a terrorist attack. And less than half knew what to do. Fortunately, we have quite a number of people who have displayed vigilance and awareness, because at the end of the day, you cannot rely on government. Everyone has to play a role. And recent example that I think of is Times Square incident, where it was ordinary bystander who drew attention of the security agencies to this parked vehicle, which later had to be dealt with. Right? In Singapore, fortunately, we have also had our share of good examples, because the JI arrest, originally we trace it back, was due to an individual who had tipped off the authorities about one particular individual, and that led to investigations which later on brought about the arrest of the JI. I'm also cheered by the examples I've given, and I won't go into that now. There are many examples given of members of the public reporting what they felt seemed to be strange behavior, unusual behavior. They did not know what to make of it, but they felt it had to be brought to the attention of the authorities. And I think it's good that they do so. It shows a level of consciousness. Of course, in all those instances which were investigated, it did not really lead to a conclusion that this was anything serious. But I mention those examples because that's exactly the kind of vigilance and security awareness and consciousness that we need. I mean, if a suitcase is left unattended, or parcel is left unattended in an MRT, station or on the train, would people report it? And I have given figures to show that there has been an increase in the number of people reporting unattended materials in the train. My second worry reverts back to a point mentioned earlier, that is about resilience. If we think of the unthinkable, and if the terrorists were to attack and succeed, are we geared, are we prepared as a nation to bounce back? Would we be so shaken? Would we be so cowed by the attack that it will undermine our very social fabric? In this regard, I think the example that the Londoners showed when they had the train bombings in 05 is a very good example, because I think it's important to demonstrate to the terrorists that while they may have succeeded in carrying out their attack, that as a society they have not succeeded in breaking the society. I think that's very important. The way the Londoners, the individuals, the organizations, the media showed support and cooperation, worked together with the authorities, it was I would say, a very steely determination, a signal given to the terrorists that, look, we are not going to be cowed by this terrorist attack. And their response, I think, was exemplary. And that's the kind of response we too must give. So while I worry about this, I must say that I'm cheered by the way Singaporeans responded during the SARS crisis. I think everybody came forward and played a part, and it was a whole of society approach. And I think that kind of approach, that kind of resilience is something that we need to build on and replicate if there was a terrorist attack.